Hey guys, welcome to my updated Grendel build guide. I've released a pretty popular relative to my channel video a few months ago in which I introduced a Grendel build that was made possible due to a bunch of changes to Nourish that happened in Lua's Prey. And in this video, I'm going to show you some changes that made a different build entirely possible on Grendel, thanks to the introduction of a new warframe, Citrine. So this build is going to be utilizing Citrine's subsume ability, Fracture Blast. Now, what this does is pretty straightforward. It applies slash and impact procs to enemies with guaranteed slash procs, and if enemies die while they have the debuff on them from this ability, then they're going to drop health orbs and energy orbs with a certain percentage, which is half the values that they were if they were on actual Citrine. But Grendel has another advantage that Citrine doesn't. Well, mine does because I put Nourish on her as well. I'll maybe make a video about that in the future. That's also pretty amazing. But I put her ability on him and his ability on her, and they're both pretty fun. But in this video, I'm going to showcase what putting her ability on him can do, because the combination of Nourish and Fractured Blast is pretty fun and amazing, especially on Grendel that has an Armor Strip ability. So that's basically the entire build in a nutshell. We're going to apply 10 viral procs in a radius around us. We're then going to apply slash procs on them and the debuff from Fractured Blast, so that when we kill them, we get a bunch of orbs to replenish our health and replenish our energy. Replenishing our energy is going to be pretty important because we're not using any energy buffing mods or arcanes whatsoever in this build. It's going to be self-sufficient in energy by a long shot. I mean, you're never going to have any energy problems using this, and I'm going to get into that a little bit shortly. But for now, again, we're not using Equilibrium, which would be really nice, especially in combination with Fractured Blast and Nourish. We don't need it. And we're not using Primed Flow either. We don't need it. We just don't need anything. And I've opted to use 2 max energy blue crystals. I suppose you do the same thing, because that extra 100 energy is just enough so that you can spam your abilities and never run out of energy and not have any kind of problems whatsoever. I'm going to try to make this build video short, so we'll get right into it. Max range, because obviously max range is going to benefit all of our abilities. Feast less so. It has a 70 meter range, so it's way more than we need, but otherwise the other 3 abilities need as much range as you can possibly give it. We're going with high ability strength so that it can deal with steel path enemies way better, and to increase both our energy income from Fractured Blast and our energy income from Nourish, both, because this is going to have an energy multiplier, and this is going to drop us energy orb with a higher chance. So overall high ability strength is going to correspond with high energy income, and we need it because we're going negative efficiency so that we could use Blind Rage to increase our ability strength even more. And we need Blind Rage because we're lowering our ability strength because of Overextended. And Archon Continuity is there to turn all of our Toxin abilities into Toxin plus Corrosive abilities. So when it comes to Regurgitate, it's going to apply corrosive status effect on all enemies in a almost 17 meter radius around each enemy that we shoot out of our stomach. And Feast also, when you spit out the enemies, they kind of do a small AoE of damage around them. That also has that, and it also applies the damage over time to all enemies in your stomach. That it deals both toxin and corrosive. So all around, it just makes you, it gives you an additional status effect that you can apply to enemies with your basic abilities that you're going to be using all the time. And yeah, let's get right into it. Arcane Blessing is so that the 1000 health is going to end up being 2000 and something health, and we need 2000 and something health because we're going for adaptation to increase our tankiness so that we don't die very quickly in Steel Path. Now, we could still die relatively quickly if we're not really paying attention to our health, but fortunately we can use Nourish while we have enemies in our stomach to just heal all the way to full health no matter what our max health is, because 2.4 thousand health is more than enough. And also Fractured Blast is going to drop a whole ton of health orbs that picking them up is going to also recover our health. And Combat Discipline is going to allow us to apply the Nourish debuff AoE on all enemies in a 34, roughly, meter radius for every kill that we do. And this is going to kill a whole lot of enemies. So we're going to apply the Nourish buff at every possible instance. Literally every 2 seconds. Every time it comes off cooldown, we could apply it again, basically, because enemies are going to keep dying all around us all the time. Combat Discipline is going to drain our health. The health drain is going to apply the Explosion from Nourish. It's going to debuff all enemies, which are going to then take increased slash damage, especially if they have their armor stripped. So that's how this build works. Now let's see it in real time. Yeah, ignore my lack of weapons right now. It's going to make the video longer if I actually have to change anything other than that. And besides, like, you could choose whatever weapons you want. This is purely an ability casting based build. I'm gonna barely ever be using weapons in general. Now, before Arcane Blessing has an opportunity to scale its damage up very much, we have to be a little bit more careful, but once we get the bonus health from it, then we should be fine. And again, like I said, Arcane Blessing increases your max health based on picked up health orbs, but Fractured Blast creates a whole ton of them, so we should get to max health very quickly, honestly. So yeah, let's start with activating Nourish. Then we activate this, and we spill it out. They're all dead. Now we rinse and repeat. So what's going on is the enemies are getting their armor stripped, so every bit of slash damage that they're taking is going to do a lot more damage to them, because now they're taking damage on red health. And Viral is going to increase all damage to health by 325%. So yeah, the way this build works is pretty intuitive, honestly. For some reason, enemies don't want to come. So the rotation, the best rotation I found is you start by casting the Slash, you then Armor Strip, and then everything just dies. And whenever you need to just recast Nourish so that your timer doesn't run out. And you would want your stomach to be full of enemies because he gains armor, max armor, based on the number of enemies he has in his gullet. Which is again going to help with our survivability. And we're already at max health because we've picked up 50 health orbs super quickly. And yeah, this is essentially the build in a nutshell. As you can see, it's super chill. Everything's dying in Steel Path very easily. The radius on all of our abilities is pretty high, so that when we spit out an enemy, it actually does like an AoE explosion that kills enemies. Those killed enemies are going to... every time an enemy dies or I get attacked and lose health, you're gonna see like these damage, these viral stacks applied to enemies. Always at 10 max stacks. Yep, alternatively what you can do is you can start by stripping their armor and then using Slash. That might actually even be better. And Executus, again, you might have to want to use your weapons to take down their overshield. Once that happens, they die super fast. Yeah, that's basically it. I guess I'll just wait for the Acolyte to show up to show you how easily it deals with Acolytes too. Yeah, not really much to go on about in this build. So how are you guys doing? Having a good day? I guess I'll use this time to speak about the new melee weapon as well. It's insane. It's a scythe that can be used as a gun blade, but contrary to all other gun blades that usually have like a spread of bullets or just like a single pellet, but not in a very large radius, this one shoots a gigantic projectile that deals a lot of crit damage on its wake, and yeah, it deals with enemies very quickly, especially if it has the Nourish weapon damage on it. Yeah, so Nourish, as I explained in all my previous Grendel videos and all my other Nourish videos from recently, Nourish applies also a viral status on all your weapons, so it's going to increase the damage you deal with weapons as well. So overall, this build gives you a little bit of everything. Yeah, let's armor strip this guy. Apply some slashes. Yep, a piece of cake. As you can see, every time I cast Nourish, I go back to full health, so use that to your advantage. And yeah, that's pretty much the build. Hope you enjoyed, guys. Have a nice day.